Hello, welcome to TrueHoop with me, Jarod Hector, and not David Thorpe. Instead, joining us is TrueHoop founder and CEO Henry Abbott. How are you, sir?
It's been a long time, Jarod. I don't know when I was last on this podcast, but it feels like months. There's my
And
dog. You hear my dog
Lola's,
barking?
yeah, she's letting you know some things.
She told me she was going to be quiet, man. She did.
She said, Dad, you haven't been on that podcast in like 4 months.
Yeah. We've been talking for 20 minutes and she didn't bark, and now suddenly, as soon as we hit record, she's like, "Go time!"
That's how they do.
Yeah.
Henry, you are in the third round editing stage now, so you're getting stuff back from the publisher. They're saying, "Oh, we like this. Cut this part out. Redo this part." Right? This is where we are.
It's a weird life. I'm like, I'm so deep in this, Jarod, that I think you can attest that yesterday I texted you as if it were a normal thing, a study about anterior shear in the lumbar spine.
Yep.
And like, I actually at dinner, I was so excited that I found that study, which is relevant to where my head is right now, that like I almost like kind of like just took over the dinner time conversation with my family, just like tell them about this exciting thing I found. It's like people are literally taking cadaver spines and finding how much pressure it takes to like rip them in half. Like, people, first of all, science is crazy, but second of all, you can learn some interesting things about how our own backs are injured from this. And like, anyway, so yeah, this is where I am. I'm in a place where I think that people ripping cadaver spines is like interesting and fun. That's how far down the rabbit hole I am.
But that is how, for people who are unaware, right? Cadavers are how medical students get trained. That's how they learn shit. I mean, you can't. Yeah. I mean, experimenting on live bodies probably not a great idea.
Not as good.
So
not as,
it's a little. So you have these cadavers, and that's how medical students learn. And so this is how, if you're doing deep study on back injuries, right? Well, how am I going to spend 25 hours working? Well, I can't just work on some live back. Well, let's take this thing out and figure out what's the force needed to break this thing or rip this thing open. And this is all relevant because my partner was in severe back pain, so we had to go to the hospital, ER, whole thing. And it's like weird because, Henry, like medical, and I'll get in a whole rant about this another time, but healthcare system in this country, shit. And these people are like, oh, move your leg this way. Oh, it's fine. Push through the pain. And it's like, what are you people talking about? This woman cannot walk. Can you see this right now? Like, look. Bizarre. So, anyway.
Okay. You texted something about that, and actually, I just like, and I was like, yeah, that's fair. Like, I mean, I'm not going to defend anything about the medical system in this country. However, I will just note that my dad was a doctor in England.
Yes.
Right. And when he had back trouble, which he did, he had like really bad back trouble. He would literally fly here to see my kinesiologist / CrossFit trainer, who he saw as like my point is, like, they don't have that shit down in England either. like nobody knows. Like, nobody's good at what this particular thing of this. Like, oh, I have this sort of amorphous soft tissue concern, and it's debilitating.
Right.
But like, anywhere you go now, there's not a person who's like, oh, great, I'll be fixed right up. Like, they don't have that. That's not in Canada, not in Sweden. Like, nobody has that. You just the only people who can help you are absolute unicorns who exist in like a little well-lit glade of the forest, and you have to happen across that spot, and they'll be like, I will wave my magic wand and you'll eat these toadstools, and like it's just not common.
Or they live in Santa Barbara and they are brilliant people named Dr. Marcus Elliott.
He did help me a lot, to be honest.
All right. Who's this is what part of Henry's book is basically about, Dr. Elliott, and like just his thought process and how he handles this stuff. And Henry sent me this text. He's like, Draw, basically, if you're a runner, and my partner's a runner, as am I, as is Henry, if you land in any remotely screwed up way, you're sending all these shards into your back, and this is what's causing injuries. And I'm like,
it could be,
how the fuck do you know if you're running right or not?
Yeah.
Like,
I got it.
If your back hurts, that's how you know you're not running right.
How many hours do you want me to talk on that topic? But this is what I do with my time now. Literally, just try to like strengthen those systems so that I don't land in the way that like turned me into that cadaver where they rip the back in half. That's basically been my life the last year.
And well, that's what Marcus does with NBA players, right?
Yeah.
When they come in and he assesses them and he says, well, the way you're running and jumping on this basketball court, you're probably going to tear your ACL in 3 months. How do we not have that happen, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And it's amazing because we're talking about athletes, Henry, and because these players have discipline, right? Because you can't be a pro unless you have discipline. Marcus can show them, oh, well, this is all wrong. Let me teach you how to re-walk and re-run and re-jump. And the super disciplined ones can pick, okay, no problem. Could you imagine now trying to learn how to re-walk? And I'd fail. I'm like, I'm not good at this.
Okay, there's an interesting. Oh god, this is where my head is right now, Jarod. I could go long, but I will tell you that they don't want you to think about like how you run when you run. Like they want you to just go. What they want to do is bring you in, do a bunch of clever exercises where they're just going to give your brilliant subconscious like more tools, like certain sets of muscles, certain kind of systems of how you're going to like pass the forces, the newtons of how your soul hits the ground. They want you to pass them up the body in a way that more of those forces are absorbed by the useful soft tissues in between, right? Instead of the bones. Yeah. And if you give your subconscious like those tools, it's like, one of the analogies they use is like, it's like putting the keys in the car of like a brand new car in the driveway. Like you don't have to convince people to drive that car. Like it's just like the tools available, I'll just use it, right? Which means you get to go in their gym and do a bunch of hard workouts and learn a bunch of stuff, and you're working on all this kind of balance and whatever. And but then you just go play. Then you just go run, right? And when it's running time, you just go run. And so I think that's kind of like, I do notice it happening, and it's kind of cool to see, because like the way that our bodies work is way better designed and way more intense than the way we think about it. Like our consciously managing it is like a tiny percentage of what we're doing,
Oh, the subconscious. I like it. We're getting all Freudian in here. Wow, look at that. Who knew that we started a basketball podcast talking about this?
I could have guessed, I guess. It's like, this is every conversation I have these days, and I'm sorry.
Listen, guys, no, you all will do yourself a favor getting Henry's book when it comes out. When is it due out?
Oh god, it's gonna be like a year, to be honest. Like I'll do my part; will be done pretty soon, but it just takes forever to print and ship and whatever they do. They do things that aren't the things I do, and then those things take a long time.
Coming soon to a shelf near you in 2024.
Yeah, so, exactly right.
That's wherever you buy books. All right, Henry. Next week, training camps open. Started getting all my emails from all the NBA PR departments. If you want to come to training camp and come to media day, it's this date and blah, blah, blah. And so, it's the first day of school, all the stuff where Henry always says every team and players come out and say the same thing, and it's usually not true. We're going to play faster.
Everyone's going to play fast,
that. And they're not. They're basically doing what they did last year. Right? It's pretty much going to be the same thing they did. But, training camps will open up next week. Most of the guys, though, are back in their home city where their team plays, and they've been playing 5-on-5 for at least a couple weeks now. And Henry, this brings up the summertime and when players are, working out and doing different things, and everyone who follows the NBA knows about the famed LA runs at the hallowed UCLA gyms with Rico Hines. UCLA, of course, steeped in basketball lore, right? The Wizard of Westwood, John Wooden, 11 NCAA titles, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, then Lou Alcindor, Bill Walton, all the greats that have played walk through there. And in the summertime, NBA players who almost all of them live in LA in the summer or have some kind of summer residence there, they'll go through Rico's gym and they'll play. And there's always different courts set up. And the court you want to be on is the winner's court. That's the court in the middle. All right, that's guys who play there. They're winning all the time. And if you lose, you go to the outer court. And if you lose, if you go to that third court that's all the way at the end, that's like the last one. And if you lose that one, you're on the sidelines watching. So it's kind of like, it makes it feel like, oh, NBA guys are like us. Because we've all, if you play pickup basketball, had that moment where you're on the sideline watching. So sometimes NBA guys are on the sideline watching. Anyway, ESPN put a story out yesterday, I think, just about the Rico Hines runs and how basically a who's who, any NBA player who's anybody has been through there. And it's a place where iron sharpens iron and this, that, and the third. And, honestly, guys, really what it is just a collection of like really good dudes who play basketball, playing basketball. That's really all it is. Now, they may tell you like that's an opportunity where they get to work on things. It's true, right? Someone may have added a step back to their game in their drill work. I'm going to try it in the Rico games and see if it actually works here. If it does, I'll bring it into an NBA game. But that's all it is, guys. It's just really good NBA dudes playing pickup basketball.
Yeah, the other good games are like in some industrial sector of Miami and like Houston, like, Atlanta. There's like the hallowed UCLA gym part of it, or the notion that like there's some incredible teaching happening. Like that's all complete and total BS, right? Like I think it's like when they start a new social media platform, right? Like, like if all the cool people go to one of them, that's the good one.
That's the good one.
Like it's not because of the software,
just because the cool people are there.
You're going to be able to message on all of them. All of them. They all have the photos. The only thing that matters is like when you have to talk to whoever you're trying to talk to, where are they? You go there, right? This is how NBA players want to go see NBA players. Like And I don't know. I was gonna say, like, what do we know that is important to the regular season that has ever happened at a pickup game like this? And I'll tell you, there's the one thing that came to mind was last summer. I remember seeing little clips of like Scotty Barnes blocking everything James Harden was doing.
Yes,
and I was like, okay, like so James Harden can't fucking jump. Like that, that matters. Like, and it kind of did matter. I mean, he played surprisingly well, all things considered, but like
it also the reverse also happened, right? Everybody, if you're watching those clips, you thought, oh, Scotty's gonna have an awesome season next year.
Didn't though, yeah,
didn't quite happen. So point being, it's just dudes playing basketball. And I will point out that Nikola Jokic, the reigning Finals MVP, 2-time league MVP, don't think he's ever played at Rico Hines pickup games. Pretty sure he's never.
Yeah.
So just
everybody should do what Kyle Lowry does, right? Like he's the size of a talk show host and he has like LeBron James like advanced metrics. Like if he's there, just go there, and if he's not there, don't
do
go there.
Whatever Kyle Lowry is. One of the things that Rico does say is that what he hopes players become is guys who can help their teams win. And as you know, if you're listening to this podcast, that's David's things, right? That's what David does in his player development. How can you become a player who helps us win possessions? Because that's how you win basketball games. Most young players, rookies, as David always says, are bad at that. They just help you lose possessions, actually, and lose games. But if you can learn how to develop into someone, and scoring is one way, but there are 9 billion other ways you can do that. If you become that kind of player, and there was a clip actually at the gym where Russell Westbrook was pointing out Kevon Looney to the assembled people, saying, this guy's been in the NBA however many years, making a ton of money. Like, why? Because he helps the Warriors win.
Yeah, says the other icon, the icon of the opposite.
That's who often does the.
And like, yeah, but how much money did you make, Russ? Kind of more than Kevon, I'm thinking. Yeah.
Again, more than one way to skin a cat, but that's the biggest thing when you're a basketball player, right? Is learning. If you're not the alpha, like I'm a scorer guy, whatever. Okay, there's only one or two of those on the team. Everybody else has got to do other shit. Are you good at the other shit?
Yeah. For sure, it matters. Kevon Looney's a great role model, but is this really the best place? Like I played a lot of pickup basketball in my life. Like, you know what we talk about? Fucking who scored the most points? Like that's what we talk about, right? like, did I fake you so that you look bad? That's what pickup is about.
Were you the scorer guy in your pickup teams, or are you the Draymond Green do it all utility knife guy?
So I had a transition. I lived in New York City and played in the parks. And everything's gritty as fuck, and there's a lot of drugs, and you have to know, like, is the guy I'm guarding, did he just do a bump? In which case he's gonna be a little pumped up, right? Like it was like that, right?
Yeah.
This was also right where if you were literally, this is no joke, if you were leaving Rikers Island and didn't have a place to go, the bus would drop you at the park right by my apartment in the East Village. And so there were often people who were literally, the last game they played was in Rikers, and
fresh out the clink.
I've been a guy would be like shooting a three while kicking me in the ribs, shit like this, like hardcore, and a bunch of fights and stuff. And so I went from that environment where there were a lot of good players, to be honest, but to here, to basically farm country in New Jersey, and I was Michael fucking Jordan when I got here, man.
You're hammer dunking on people.
Oh my god, that was so easy. I still there was this kind of heyday, and then I got older, and the one game I played and kind of broke up, and then I did find a better game, but then I didn't stand up. But there's these dudes who played in this one little church basement, and I still see them sometimes. And they're like, man, back in the day, you were woo, it was amazing.
Henry was a legend in the farm streets of New Jersey playing pickup ball. Listen,
the church basement where I was the king, Jarod. Yeah,
but it's all relative, right? If your trading ground is just those hard courts in New York City, please, you guys in a gym in a church basement? I got
great. Just for a little while, it felt great. Yeah, but I wasn't sweating the help defense so much. You know what I mean? That's the point here.
I wasn't.
This is not the breeding ground of freaking being defensive player of the year. It's just not.
Definitely not that.
Yeah. This is box score stat environment. Yeah.
Definitely.
And if you took the same time you did the Rico run and went and actually worked on very targeted what David teaches, of course that would be more useful.
Much
You're
more
going to play plenty of basketball.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, shit, you got 82 games coming up, friends.
Yeah.
I mean, get ready.
Those are overuse injuries, and the use that they're getting is from the game of basketball, right? So you might want to like tax your ACL a little less, you know?
You see how it all came full circle, back to injuries. I mean, ultimately,
yeah.
And I think that's what Kobe did that later in his career. Stopped doing a pickup and was just doing more skill work. He's like, I'm gonna kill myself if I keep playing pickup basketball and then go play an NBA season. Probably will. Not a good idea.
I think people are motivated differently, and if you're that's just what fires you up, then like, you know, I wouldn't. Come on, maybe go play, right? But it's not whatever the language was in the article about, like say steel sharpening steel,
like iron sharpens
iron.
Yeah,
no. Whatever. It's a bunch of bullshit.
I love it. David's not here, but the spirit of David remains present. You gotta love it.
Yeah.
All right, friends, we're going to continue our series of previewing each team before we head to the start of the season. So it's 5 burning questions, or it's burning questions, actually, not even 5. It's however many burning questions for each team ahead of.
It's 5 about every team, but 7 about the Blazers because I know more about them.
And shock of all shocks, since we're done with the Eastern Conference, we're going to start with the Northwest Division. Why? Because Henry's Portland TrailBlazers are in the Northwest Division. Mm-hmm. So let's start with the defending champion Denver Nuggets. Everyone, if you are not, you should be subscribed to TrueHoop.com. It's a wonderful Substack. And David had questions for the West Best, and Denver, of course, returning champions. He talked a lot about them. I want to start here with them, Henry. As David is worried, I too am worried about their depth. It didn't matter last year. It worked out, right? They were able to beat everybody because their starting 5 was so fucking good. It didn't matter. And Nikola Jokic is so fucking good. Doesn't matter. But, you know, as I spend more time with you and I listen, like, you know, Nikola Jokic, even though he's still young, is going to be a fraction worse than he was last year. Maybe not noticeable, but a little bit worse. You know, Michael Porter Jr. may be a little bit better. Jamal Murray may be a little bit worse. Right? So these small margins might be the difference between that starting 5 being top 3 and now top 5. And is that 2-spot difference? That's the difference between a championship and not a championship, right? These are the margins we're talking about. So I wonder about their depth.
Yeah, Bruce Brown was marvelous for them, and now he's gone. So, who plays those minutes? And you know, I think what every Nuggets fan would say is Christian Brown. In preparing for this, I talked to David Thorpe for a great number of hours yesterday, and he said so many smart things. And I'm just going to quote him here. But you know, actually, this one's from an article published. Basically, he was like, you know, possibly Christian Brown looked so good because he was very fit and fresh at a time of year when everybody was gassed.
Yep.
He, in support of that assertion, Christian Brown's advanced stats were terrible in the regular season. So where are we on that? I don't know, right? Yeah. But like, I don't think it's a shoo-in. You know, they've done. I admire one thing I really admire about the Nuggets is they keep bringing in young players.
Yes,
but they're, you know, it's a bet.
Henry, wow. Okay, so you know we always talk about how rookies often are minuses as players, right? So Christian Brown in the regular season last year was a -4 in EPM. So for him just to be a net neutral player, he has to get significantly better just to be net neutral. Not even positive, just even.
Yeah, that's really, really bad. I mean, like it's hard to have a good lineup with a -4 player on the court. It just is.
Yeah. I you know, so that's one area to look at. So who's playing the Bruce Brown minutes? I love the young guys they brought in, but young guys, as Dad always says, need playing time and oxygen, and they have to have room to make mistakes. Well, but when you're a defending champion, can you afford mistakes? You're trying to win your title again. I don't know.
I mean, I guess they have a little window, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you know, they got a few months to just sort of work it out. But if it's not Christian Brown, then they're going to have to find out who it is, right?
I think a big piece for them is, and it's tough because he has, you know, a back injury is no joke. We started the show talking about backs. But if Michael Porter Jr. gets closer to what he can be, that is a rising tide that lifts all ships, right? Because he is that skilled a player. So even if Christian Brown, let's say he goes from a -4 to a -2.5, but Michael Porter Jr. bumps up, you know, well, that may be enough. With him, Jokic, and Jamal Murray, we can carry Brown in our starting lineup because these 3 are just so fucking good. Will Michael Porter Jr.? I don't know. Like, we got to see if he's healthy enough, right? He did play the whole season injury-free, which is good. I don't know what he did all summer. I will say this: I didn't see many pickup games, which is probably good. Hopefully, he's strengthening those muscles and doing all the different things that he's necessary to come back and have another strong season, or have a better season next year, because he's going to need it. He's the guy, and he was a plus 2.4 last year, Henry. So 90th percentile in estimated plus minus. So really good. But I mean, this is a guy who was in his draft class, in his high school class, he was the best player. Like, whoever went number 1 that year, and I forget, that's a 2017 year, 18. Porter was the best player. Then all the back injuries just, knocked him down.
Yeah, he's the portrait of like the tools-based draft pick, right? Like, which means, it's uncharitable, but like, I sometimes just watch and be like, does he see? Like, I feel like he often just makes terrible choices with the ball, right? And like, and it just seems like, well, is he just going to be that guy? Because like, they don't actually. That kind of leads into our next thing, which is who's going to be the backup point guard. But so I guess the idea is it's Reggie Jackson, maybe. Thorpe was like
play last year.
He didn't even play last year. So Thorpe's like, look, the only floor organizers, his term on the team, are Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, but like, not Michael Porter Jr. Not even close. And the fact that he's so terrible at it, I think, means someone else has to be good at it.
Yes. I love it. You're like, it's not Michael Porter Jr. No, it is interesting because they did trade for Reggie Jackson last year, and for whatever reason, didn't play him in the playoffs. Malone was like, no, these are my guys as I'm going with, and it helped because you have Bruce Brown, and he can be your secondary organizer. But again, we said Bruce Brown's gone, and that was a valuable person who would play the backup point guard minutes. It's got to be Jackson now, right? Or
so they have they just drafted Jalen Pickett.
Yes.
So he played. He's 23. He played 5 years of college. And I guess the idea is that he's a very, very high IQ player who, they're imagining on some schedule, they expect will do. He's like he shot 36% from the NCAA 3-point line and 75% from the free throw line, which predicts like NBA 3-point shooting, right? There's a reason that he was available where they picked him. But yeah, maybe that's what they're thinking. I do think that like when I love very often really good teams just don't get players under the age of 24 or whatever.
Yeah.
And that dooms them in the long run. Like the Nuggets don't do that. They keep bringing in, these players, and maybe, we'll see. Maybe Jalen Pickett can do this.
And Peyton Watson's another one, right? Who's someone who could potentially be good for them. Aaron Gordon had a good year for them last year. Can he, remain and keep his level? Conchar is out. He tore his ACL in I want to say what the World Cup basketball this summer. So that's a spot they have to fill. Going back to MPJ really quick, Henry, do you know what his nickname is?
No.
Michael Never Swing the Rock Porter Jr.
Yeah. See. Yes. So I think have you seen there are these Peyton Watson stories out there that he's like, they were saying on the broadcast during the playoffs, like, oh, next year,
wait till Peyton.
The word is Peyton Watson, blah blah.
Right.
So, I believe those are coming from legitimate places. So I just looked it up just to see if there were any like updates or whatever. Just this morning, and I ended up on a website called nuglove.com. I don't know that site.
Denver Nuggets fans. Who knows?
Yeah. But on nuglove.com, where everybody's like, oh, he's about to bust out, blah, blah. There's like one negative from Watson's summer league run was that he didn't set up his teammates very much and threw the ball to the opposition much more. Oh, no. His 3.5 turnovers to 1 assist ratio isn't the most encouraging thing for Nuggets fans. Like, look, he's a power forward. He's a big, strong athlete. Like, this might not be the most important thing, but we were just talking about MPJ's never
swing the rock.
With this guy, it's like literally, please never.
Never swing the rock, please.
You know which uniforms we're wearing, right?
Well, the tough part is that Reggie Jackson, while being sort of a playmaker for others, has never really been his strong suit, right? Like he can do it, but he's more
not that guy.
Right, he's much more of a, now I'm going to go get my. I mean, this was the guy who, on a team with prime Russell Westbrook, wrote on his sneakers, starting point guard. So, I mean,
anyone who plays in sunglasses, that's like, you already know that.
So what are we saying? No, it's not all doomsday Nuggets land. I will say this though, Henry. It'll be very interesting to see. I think obviously they have to work through some things, but we'll know their disposition to want to defend the title, I think, pretty clearly early on based on how they play against other top competition. I'm not just saying they have to jump out of the gates 18-2 or no, whatever. But if they're like not doing well against like the other West bests, then then I'll start being like, how much do you guys want to do this? Which, by the way, should be said. I mean, repeating is fucking hard, man. It's really hard to do. Winning one's hard. Doing it again, shit's tough. So
yeah, it's just unlikely. And they, Thorpe picked the Lakers as the favorites in the West. I think that the problem the Nuggets have isn't so much that they're maybe a little beat up compared to last year with losing Bruce Brown. At the same time, like the field is just
better
bursting, right? Yeah. Like whether I'm having a hard time believing that the Lakers are going to win the West. But somebody, there's just there's so many other candidates.
Yes, yeah.
We don't need to recap them all now, but
there's
everybody's on the com right now. Yeah,
everyone's on the, and when you, and it's cliche, but it's true. When you are the top person, well, there's only one other place for you to go is back down, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else has got to climb, so they're hungry for that. You got to just maintain. Fucking hard, man.
And I think about it. I always think about everything in terms of running, but if you're leading the marathon and you're ahead of one guy, like okay, but if you're ahead of 10, then you have to really, because somebody's gonna have a miracle. Someone's gonna have their perfect day, and it might be the Thunder, or it might be the Jazz, or it might be the Suns, or it might be the Lakers, or it might be the Clippers, or it might be It's not gonna be the Blazers. But yeah.
Well, we'll get to them. You know who it's not going to be. Ain't gonna be the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Hey, look at the segue you just pulled off there. I like it.
Certainly won't be the Timberwolves. I want to start here. Look, we are believers in defense. It is half the game. All right. Whatever possessions you don't have the ball on offense, you're doing the other thing, which is fucking playing defense. So that side of the floor matters. Rudy Gobert for this generation has been arguably the top defender. If you want to say Draymond, I'd be like, okay, I'm not going to be, but he's somewhere up in the top 3 of this generation of players defender. He wasn't quite as good last year, right? You saw the defensive metric shop still effective, but not his DPOY levels. The Timberwolves gave up a ton to get him, and they have him, Naz Reid, Cat, who's the fourth, and they have another big man. I feel like they have
Luke
one
Garza.
Yes. In a league where you want as much size and versatility, I don't think the Nuggets have size and versatility. They got size. Cat's versatile, but we'll get to him in a minute. Rudy's not that versatile. Garza, don't think that versatile, right? So what's going on with the Timberwolves and their big men?
Yeah, so this is a giant issue, and I guess if you ask NBA people how this is going, then they'll say that was one of the worst trades of all time. But that Tim Connolly will keep Rudy because getting rid of Rudy would be admitting some kind of defeat.
I did wrong.
It's transactionally inferior, right? And we have this thing, this is a known human bias. If you pay a lot for something, then you value it more than everybody else just because you pay a lot for it, right? So that's fucking yourself twice, right?
Yes.
You make a bad deal to get Rudy, and then I don't know what the offers are for Rudy, but to me, if you were a very enlightened, I know they're in ownership transition there, but if you were an enlightened billionaire running this team, that never happens. But if you were, then you would make sure Tim knows that you value him more if he's willing to make the deal that makes the team better in the long run, rather than make Tim look good in the short term, right? Which is how most GMs operate, right? Which is so mind-numbingly stupid. You just got to do what's going to make Timberwolves better. And if it's moving Rudy, you got to move Rudy, right? So to me, the interesting thing about having 4 legit centers on the team is that it makes me think that they think the same thing we think, which is they should trade somebody, right? Yes. And in my extensive interviews with David Thorpe, he has a certain tone of voice that listeners to this podcast know, where he gets legit excited about something. Naz Reid gets David excited. Yeah, right?
He's good. He's very good.
He's not going to play. If they don't make a trade, he's not going to play enough for it to matter, right?
Right.
So I don't know. I guess the conventional wisdom would be that Cat is the one that's on the block. But yeah, it does seem to me like it's a very expensive, big lineup that doesn't work very well in a 1-year survey. And I'm going to dance to a different point a little bit, but like nothing they do matters except building around Anthony Edwards.
Correct.
He's 22. Correct. So like all y'all who don't fit with this, like
out.
Yeah, there's nothing much to talk about. They're not going to be good.
Yes.
And he's Anthony Edwards. Okay, now I'm just trampling our plans here, Jarod. I'm sorry, but like, okay, a little P3 story. They made a little graph of, who are the best vertical athletes, explosively up and down, and who are the best lateral athletes moving sideways, and plotted them out. And the player they were talking about at the time was Zach LaVine, and Zach LaVine's in the top right corner of that graph, and I'm going to quote Mark Sellitt here. He's like, with Anthony Edwards and God's chosen children, right? It's like, so those athletes up there, they don't stay there very long.
No.
Derrick Rose was up there. Like these people, Zach LaVine, Derrick Rose both tore their ACLs, right?
Westbrook had to be up there at some point, I'm sure, if he was ever.
Yeah, I don't know if they have tested him. They may well have. I just don't know. But the point is, like, that's a young, like the way Anthony Edwards is elite right now is like Usain Bolt in his prime, where it's like, boy, nobody's like this, right? So, counting on him moving like that in 5 years is probably dumb, right? Even though he's so young. But to me, like, we have this special electric thing that we saw in the World Cup. Like, what works with that?
Not probably, 4 centers.
Probably we go to our media day. We're going to run a lot this year thing, right? Like, fuck, we got all the centers.
We can't run that fast because those guys are slow.
Yeah.
I want to get back to Edwards in a minute. Are we at the point now where I don't want to say give up, but is the Cat thing over? Are we done with that? Is that like, all right? Because this dude, the talent is still so evident, like at least offensively. Like, God, at that size, he's so gifted.
Yeah. But he's like, like in the advanced stats, he's basically the best shooting big man of all time, or
correct.
Close, right?
As he will tell you himself multiple times.
Yeah. So, we went through maybe 10 years of people saying that Dirk was somehow like cursed and couldn't win. And then, oops, he did, right? So I feel like Cat's, the right setup would be amazing. Thorpe got very excited about the idea of Cat alongside Zion in New Orleans.
Oh man,
right? Like,
because Zion needs a stretch 5. Oh my God,
right? It kind of makes sense.
Ooh, and Pelicans got the stuff to give up.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
stay tuned.
Smart.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
All right, and Edwards. So he does all the things, Henry, that gets basketball fans excited, right? Runs fast, jumps high. Like that's those things, that gets neurons firing. Everyone's like, oh my God, this guy's going to be a super. And 22 for sure. As David will tell you, he's got a lot of other things he needs to work on to get much better at. But I like that he's the guy to build it on. So what are we doing with Mike Conley there?
Yeah, he's 35.
Doesn't quite fit with 22.
Like 2 seasons ago, he was super, super good. But he's actually now not that.
He's now not good.
So they really legit need a point guard, and this is it's an Anthony Edwards issue, right? If you're gonna have like a super athlete solving problems for you, like the point guard really, really matters in that environment, right? So
correct.
There's a point guard out there who's younger, 27, proven starter, super good at organizing the team on the floor, and on a team where his talents are completely wasted.
And his name is
Tyus Jones.
Oh,
with that sound you heard is a Grizzlies fan. But in case you lost track, Tyus Jones is a wizard now.
Yes, he is.
And it's just a stupid place for him to be at age 27. So, and do you know where he grew up, Jarod?
Tyus Jones?
Yeah.
I know he went to Duke, but no, where'd he grow up?
Minnesota.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, Henry, I like it. So the people who we're keeping right now, obviously Ant, he's 22. Jaden McDaniels, also 22. Naz Reid is 24. I mean, that I think that's probably it, right? These are the people who I'm like, we're for sure.
Leonard Miller, but he won't be good for a long time, right?
Like, we got to give him some time to get better. So, and you can get a haul back for Cat. Cat's the one where the value is going to be super high. Somebody's like, fuck it. I mean, New Orleans, we just said it. That's the place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We talked about trading, Dave and I talked about trading both bigs. Just
him and Rudy. You both. Yeah, I mean,
get rid of both.
Yeah.
And then
you'll get stuff back for Rudy too.
Okay, we talked about that David, that little tone that he likes, right? Yeah. It's like, can you build a team around Tyus Jones, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, and Naz Reid? And then this is all caps. Oh, yeah. And the point is, like, very few of those, like, only Ant is a max player there, which means that you still need a small forward, and you can offer a max deal to whoever that's going to be.
Whoever you trade for, right? Whoever you trade them to Cat to New Orleans for. Which, okay.
Yeah. So I guess, anyway, like Brandon Ingram, I don't know what you have to do to get Brandon Ingram, but that would be fucking great.
Cooking with grease.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like it. Listen, are the Timberwolves going to do that? Probably not, because as Henry said, this is about Tim Connolly has to be like, no, I'm good. This is a smart move, right? He's probably telling A-Rod right now, no, this is smart. You gotta be
maybe, I don't know. I don't know what the mood is, but they do have young talent on the roster. They could put, and they do have these expensive big men. I don't know what. I have no sense of what the value is for Rudy now. But somebody wants him.
It was 4 firsts and 3 pick swaps.
Yeah, it's not that. Yeah,
you ain't getting that, but the salaries have to match. That's the first problem. Is you get to match salaries. So who's gonna? If you can get him to somewhere where someone's getting off with someone, maybe.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way: moving him is going to be a lot more challenging than moving Cat, for sure. Doesn't mean, to your point, you should not do it.
Yeah.
But that's just going to require more maneuvering, probably a third team, like just to get some pieces moving. But I like that idea, because again, if you clear the deck and Ant's your only max guy, that means you got all the money left to do all the other stuff. Guys, this is in a salary cap league. You gotta get lucky and do some smart things. I like this. But Minnesota, you ain't winning the title this year, so we're not worried about you. Okay. We'll be back after this brief commercial break. All right. Next up, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Here is a team, speaking of who's got assets, and we just mentioned a team that who could Cat go to and have stuff to give up. Well, they got some stuff. You know what might be nice over there in Minnesota? A guy who can shoot and play some defense, who's got on a nice contract. Lou Dort, anyone? Anyway, Oklahoma City, they have all the picks. They have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have both Jalen Williams that we like. They have Chet Holmgren. We'll get to Chet in a minute. But Henry, and they have literally all the picks for the next 10 drafts. But Henry, there are only 15 roster spots on a team, and you keep picking and drafting. Eventually, you got to pay people. You're not going to be able to pay everybody. So at some point, they're going to have to turn those picks and those swaps into actual tangible players, probably someone ready-made, because they already have a player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander who is an all-NBA level player. And if the Thunder are even decent this year, like above 500, he will be in the MVP conversation. So
yeah,
I think now's the time for them to think about, okay, who are we moving to get next to Shai?
So there's nothing outrageous about suggesting that they're going to trade picks for win-now players, because if you just count them, literally it's impossible that they would draft all these players, right? Yes. It's literally, unless there's a bunch of terrible injuries or whatever, right? Like this is just not going to happen. So yeah, and the idea is you do that at the moment the team starts to achieve liftoff, right? You want to kind of pile in the talent at that moment, and this is that moment, right? They were pretty good last year, and now like they're adding Chet, and it's like, and Josh Giddey's much better, or whatever. Like they're going to be better. Like Jalen and Jalen, we're going to have so much confusion over this through the years, but like they were rookies, right? Like,
and very good rookies.
And so like they're going to be contributing. Like anyway, so yes, it does seem like it's time to talk about this. Like they are just so perfectly positioned to make a big trade. David's thing was basically, if you could gamble on like which team's most likely to trade for like a high level starter, like this is his easy, clear first pick. Utah, by the way, second. But so yeah, so the first name that David proposed was Kyle Kuzma.
I like that for them.
Yeah, who was like, he's not the same as Laker Kyle Kuzma anymore,
no,
right?
He wasn't even that bad when he was on the Lakers.
He wasn't even that bad, but he was like, for parts of last year, he was like spectacular.
Kyle Kuzma, 85th percentile estimated plus minus 6.9 estimated wins last year. So,
and how old is he?
He is 28.
See, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Then of course he mentioned Cat. David talked at length about how Cat could work there. Just trust me, it could work. And then of course. The third name he mentioned is the name that I think honestly, David mentioned this player with every single trade target that we discussed yesterday, and that's Herb Jones. Like, David loves Herb Jones, and because the Pelicans have so many people playing ahead of him, and they probably have to kind of pick Dyson Daniels or Herb Jones, right? Like, and they're gonna pick Dyson. So it appears. So Herb Jones is just this wonderful, wonderful, long, strong, young, affordable defender.
Elite defender.
Yeah.
Elite.
Yeah.
Does David think he can shoot? Learn to shoot?
Great question for you to ask David next week.
Just didn't know if that came up with you guys in your conversation. Okay.
I don't have to know the answer to that question, Jarod. Yeah.
All good.
But yeah, so those are so to Thorpe, it's Santa Clara Jalen Williams, Arkansas Jalen Williams, Josh Giddey, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah.
And then he makes an interesting point, which is which you kind of alluded to, which is Lou Dort.
Yeah.
Is kind of their like stopper, but he's not very long. And his 3-point shooting, I looked up yesterday, has been about 33% every year.
Okay.
So like, if you're gonna play an undersized guy as your like wing stopper, you kind of want to
like 37%
like
from
better.
3.
Yeah. So and now they're really gonna bet on Josh Giddey, who probably won't be a super great defender.
No.
So you kind of really want a Herb Jones or someone. He sees that as kind of like maybe Jalen Williams becomes the like LeBron stopper or whatever. But like, he's only a second-year player. Can't really count on that yet.
Well, do you know what Herb Jones happens to shoot from 3? Also 33%. So
yeah, but he's bigger.
And he's bigger, right? He's bigger alone. That's my point. So it's like, well, and he's younger and cheaper, right?
Yeah.
But the reason why Dort works in trade, though, is because he's at such a favorable contract and money-wise. So another team will be like, oh, no, we'll take that money. That's not a lot. So,
yeah, we rolled through the salaries and basically, and I was kind of calling out, like, how much Kendrick Williams makes. And Thorpe's like, so they have a salary slot for any deal. Like, it's another reason they're so right for trade is like, they can match salary with like
anybody.
They have a non-essential player to fit any potential trade. Throw in whatever picks you have to throw in.
Listen, Presti, there are very few GMs who have long-term job stability.
Yeah.
Just because of, their owner trusts them. Presti's one of them. Like, they're like, all right, we trust this guy to do. And so he's got his plan. He's clearly laid it out. What's going to work. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to win a championship, but they have all the things necessary to, as Henry and David are saying, and I'm saying, to make all the trades, slot them in to now be on the come up with an all NBA MVP level guy in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to then, because as we all know, you can't win a championship without at least one of those kinds of players, to then take you to that next level and see where it goes. Now, the check question. David said it before. I think he used a different player in this comp when he talked to you, but I know OKC fans are excited for him. I'm excited to see him play regular season basketball, but who does he want to be?
Yeah.
Does he think he's Kevin Durant right now? Because that ain't it, my guy. Like, you're not there yet. You may never. I mean, Kevin Durant's one of the great players of all time. You may never be there. But if you can buy into what a role and develop into what we think you can be, yeah. But if he wants to be KD from the minute he steps on the floor, we got problems.
Yeah, there's a big furnace in Chet's chest, right? He like burns and he works and like everybody loves him for that. And like I got to see a little bit of it at P3. Like he's just like he's just lives and breathes this like sort of legendary way, which is great. But I know that. Wait, did you see the article that Chet had an hour-long one-on-one meeting every week? I can't remember if it was with. I think it might have been with Presti.
He's Presti. Yep.
So obviously they're talking about this exact thing, right? Is like basically how do we win around Shai, right? Like if that's the mission, then this 7 foot shooting, ball handling, rangy, shot blocking unicorn of a player can certainly help. Yes. But if he just wants to do a little bit of what he did, we've seen a little bit glimpse here, which like he wants to do jab steps and dribble out the clock and take very difficult mid-range followays and stuff.
We ain't winning with that.
Yeah. So like if he really wants to be rookie of the year, he's going to try to get his points per game up, and that could be a big problem for this team that really right now could be about to win 50 games and go deep in the playoffs, right? Like this is a thing.
But you know what that means? That just means that he'll be ripe to be on the trade block. That's all. And then when they get the player in who works to do what they want. I know. OKC fans like, what? I'm like, oh, listen, if your team wants to win now, his development into that doesn't fit with who you have as Shea right now. Right? We just saw Shea last year. We saw Shea at the World Cup. David said was the best player the entire tournament. Like he's that dude. You know when you can tell, Henry, a player is like when they always play at their own speed. And that Shea, I'm like, dude, this guy is like, never rush him and hurry. I'm like, okay, well, once they ascend to that level, you're like, oh, okay, this is one of those dudes. He's that guy.
On to like, just like Anthony Edwards in Minnesota, it's like you guys better not fuck this up. Like you're gonna have this player this good for a short time, and like it's not really the case that they can like lose a season to Chet in the mid range, exploring the limits of his abilities. Like this is like Jaws' explosive first season in Memphis, which is like, you guys better go get this. Like
tell me about it.
Like I'm very excited about the Thunder this year. They're gonna be super fun to watch, and there's like kind of this fun unknown X factor thing. Like the ceiling's high, and they're young and bursting, and maybe they'll make some trade. And David got me a little bit brainwashed into Arkansas Jalen Williams as young Kevon Looney.
Oh, well, David loves Kevon Looney.
That's hardly say a nicer thing about a person. So and then there's like Santa Clara Jalen Williams might be my favorite player in the NBA. And then the question is he the starting point guard? Which would be kind of amazing. So that kind of stuff's going to be really fun to see.
They and they have a coach who David likes a lot, and Mark Daniel. He's proven that he's a very good coach. They run good action, like they're exciting. Hey, LA Clippers, you think you wish you had Gilgeous-Alexander still, or are you good with Kawhi and Paul George? Oh, that's a low blow. Okay,
it's a low blow, but I wasn't saying it if you didn't. So
was it worth it, guys? Whatever. We'll get to that when we do our Pacific Division breakdown. What's today? We did Northwest today. We'll probably go to maybe do Pacific on Monday. We'll see. Okay. Now moving on to Henry's team, the Portland TrailBlazers. I want to just say this first. What I want is for all the Miami Heat fans who are turned into journalists or media people who keep blasting through every megaphone they can, the TrailBlazers owe it to Dame to trade him where he wants to go to the Miami Heat. And see, I hate when you guys do this, because now you've got me, Mr. Anti-Capitalism, Mr. I hate the billionaires. You got me defending the man right now. And it's so annoying. It's so annoying. Listen, the Blazers don't owe Dame shit. What they owe him is to pay whatever the hell is left on that contract. That's it. That is what they contractually owe him. To send him because he wants to go there, no. They owe it to themselves, and they better, to get whatever the best possible value is going to be back in return. Because newsflash, no one on that roster, and all due respect to Shaedon Sharpe and all the fun young kids, ain't none of them Damian Lillard, okay? And you probably ain't never going to get another one of those in the next couple of years. However, you can get a lot of picks and a lot of good stuff back, a lot of good young talent. And that is what they should do. And if Miami can't give them that, then fuck trading him to Miami. Send him wherever you're going to get what you want. Sorry, that's my rant.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, to me, like this is a very ugly situation because the conventional wisdom is on both sides, right? Like the superstar gets to go where the superstar wants to go, and therefore there's some kind of like inevitability that Dame will end up in Miami. At the same time, like the Blazers just don't have to do anything, right? Like, and it doesn't matter what Miami journalists say. It just doesn't matter at all. Like Jody Allen will decide, and she doesn't even she doesn't care about people generally.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't actually care about people at all. So
yeah, so she's got some leeway to operate, Yeah, I don't have a I don't have a good way to look in the crystal ball. It seems like everyone's doing a perfectly terrible job of making this like resolve
I agree,
in a meaningful way. But the one thing that is happening is, it seems very clear to me that like Joe Cronin's playing poker, in a way that, when you hold a press conference to say that you're like won't be rushed or whatever, like, this is a transaction focused man, right? And then Dame's responding by saying all sorts of exciting things. But like, but they're mommy, dad, you're fighting, and I don't think they're gonna patch it up.
They're definitely not gonna patch it up. Here's the thing, Dame, who's so conscious of how he's viewed by the fans and all this other stuff, he's not gonna not show up to training camp. And if he does show up, he's not gonna pull a James Harden and dog it on the floor, and he's not gonna do that. He won't do that kind of behavior, I don't think.
Yeah, it's very funny. So like, okay, his agent through this is Aaron Goodwin, who was Kevin Durant's agent back in the time that Kevin Durant wouldn't get tattoos that would show outside of his business tattoos only on the right. So there's kind of a playbook of like, a Norman Rockwell vision.
Respectability politics.
Yes. And so like Dame's been that guy, right? He's said the things that Portland, Oregon ticket buying public would like to hear.
Yep.
And that's been basically his playbook. I don't think it was authentically him ever. Like, and I experienced some of that myself, right?
Yeah, correct. Yes.
Like, he's a killer, and that's part of his job too, right? He's a boxer, right? He hits people,
yes.
right? Like, and if you listen to his rap lyrics, like, there's so many clues that he's not this, like, just jolly good, show up on time. Like, there's a lot more to him than that, right? As we've learned about Kevin Durant since he left Aaron Goodwin and has had a whole other life. He's kind of badass, He's not like the backpack. That was Aaron Goodwin, right?
The backpack and the glasses,
backpack guy, yeah. So Damian Lillard, in my little metaphor, has taken his backpack off this summer, right? And he knows exactly what Blazer fans want to hear, and he's like, whatever.
I'm not telling you that.
Not doing that. So I don't know. I think you're right that he would show up in training camp and play, but once you don't care what people think about you anymore, you don't care. I feel like
you think he's gotten to that point now. He doesn't care. Okay.
I think he doesn't feel the need to put on the airs and graces, so which leaves us maybe the part of him that just works out all summer wants to go show how good he is, etc. I don't but the part that he needs to look good, we're done.
Okay.
It's my take. The fact he's going so hard with the Miami thing, like, he's telling Portland fans, like, see ya. So yeah, I have no idea which, there was a report that he said he would report to Blazers training camp. Like, I don't know, like,
yeah, we'll see. We'll find out next week.
Because the money, they can hold it back as money if he doesn't show up. So that's the thing.
And I think he cares about the money.
I think he cares about the money.
So I think he's gonna show up to get the money. It is ultimately what it comes down to. All right, but listen, Dame aside, you got young talent on this team that I like, that you like, but we're really not sure what they are. Maybe you are sure what they are, and you're like, let's move off some of these guys.
Yeah. So there's so much interesting things to be learned about this team. Okay, number one, David's pretty hard on Chauncey's performance so far, right? So Chauncey Billups comes in, and literally, we could go back and look at the press conference, but I'm pretty sure it was about moving the ball, getting stars off the ball.
They don't do that.
Creating opportunities for each other, and about getting out of the bottom of the league's rankings and defense. Like none of that happened, right? This team is like, take your turns. Dame and CJ would talk about taking turns as something they were proud of, like, which is, like, if you have these supernatural talents, you can do some of this, but like, it's like it's a real question. Okay, let's just assume that Dame was a bully and wouldn't let Chauncey do whatever Chauncey arrived to do. Chauncey played on teams where they moved the ball and won championships doing it, right? Like, so let's assume Chauncey has some grand plan that just didn't happen because Dame was there. Like, okay, so now can we do any of that stuff? Like, is there any team focused stuff that we can do? I think it's question one, right? Is like, it's a new day. Like, let's see. And if the answer is no, if we can't get out of the cellar on defense and move the ball on offense, like, this is not a good coach.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the thing. Okay. The next question for me is, are they tanking?
Yeah, well. Bad draft to tank for, according to David.
Yeah. Okay, so let me and I'm going to quote Thorpe again. This got me a little excited, to be honest, as a Blazers fan. He's like, they don't need to tank. They're going to lose plenty of games anyway, but to me, let's build an identity. Can we be the 13th or 14th defense in the league? Ooh. If so, holy shit, we're going to get good in a couple of years. That's the case. Let's be a rebounding team. Let's be a low turnover team. We're going to score naturally. We have the highlight reel offensive talents. Let's learn how to play the right way, and then our talent can really win out down the road.
Listen, David can get anybody who's a fan of any squad in the NBA excited about their team because he believes in a certain way that you play basketball, and there's so much talent. You love that. Maybe 15th in defense and we're a rebounding team? Yeah, we're not going to win, but who cares? We're going to be, that's something that says we know who we are. We have an identity. We have something to build for in the future. The question is, will they do it?
Yeah. So something like that would get me excited, right? And the next question is, do they have any centers? And this is a little tricky, right? So they're Drew Eubanks is in Phoenix.
Yep.
Yusuf Nurkic is on the trading block.
Mm-hmm.
If they were playing the Nuggets on opening night, I honestly don't know, like Jeremy Grant or John Butler. John Butler weighs the same amount as me, and he's a foot taller. Like I literally, they have signed some people you've never heard of who, Diop Reith, who played for Australia. Whatever. But I something's going on here. Either look, they're gonna trade Dame, maybe they're gonna trade Nurk, maybe they're gonna trade Anthony Simons, maybe Matisse Thybulle, maybe Jeremy Grant. Maybe they're gonna fill these giant gaping holes in their roster that way. The other thing I would note is that they did, this exact team and some others too have done it. There's a sneaky way to tank, which is if you have really good players on your team, but you still want to tank, just don't have any bigs.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, you will lose all the time.
Correct.
Right? Like,
can't get a rebound. Can't. Yep.
Yeah, it looks like that. I mean, right now this roster looks like that. It's like, wow, they sure loaded up on guards, and it's like, they could have a really good Shaden Sharp, Scoot Henderson, and Anthony Simons thing. They could all be playing well, and the team would just lose because they just don't have any bigs. So
Scoot, I know, is also one of the P3 heroes. That you talked about that on one of the earlier pods, so that's something to be excited about, to look forward to. I think, look, the other thing to be aware of is we mentioned her name is Jody Allen, right? And that is because she has a directive based on her late brother's living will, or will and testament, which is you must sell all of my sports assets, which includes the Seahawks and the TrailBlazers, and that money gets given to whatever charity or science thing he's giving it to. I don't know what the timetable is on that, but she has to do it. Like that, she can't keep this team forever. So at some point, she has to move off from this team, and the looming sale, I think, probably hangs over a bit. And maybe she's like, I'm not trading, letting anybody go anywhere until I get the number I want. Then after move to somebody else, you guys do whatever you want. I don't give a shit. So because she cares about money. She doesn't care about people. She cares about money.
Adam Silver talked about this a little bit and basically said, like, yeah, there is something in the will, but she doesn't have a ticking clock or something like this. So
there's no.
Well, I mean, like commissioners will never be in the position of saying that billionaires have
to do something.
Do something. He works for her.
Correct.
But I don't know. I've heard, one of the things you'll hear is that Bert Cold, who was like Paul Allen's right-hand man, who kind of hands-on runs the team then and still does now, but like Bert just likes running the team. And so his advice is always to keep the team, because once they sell a team, he doesn't get to run it anymore. That's one of the kind of things that's around. The other one you'll hear commonly is that she just wants the new TV deal to be locked in. And so once that's in, then the valuation would go up. And
really quick before you go, Henry, the other thing she wants is she's waiting for the expansion to happen because she wants her expansion fee money too.
Yeah, exactly. There's these kind of like big prizes on the horizon. So, I don't know what's true there. But yeah, that hangs over a little bit. But it's, when you're rebuilding, like, who cares, right? Like, it's
you're like, the team can be bad anyway. It doesn't matter.
One of the arguments is they should just lose every game. So probably pull that off. Like.
This team good.
The worst case scenario is not so bad. But okay, let me tell you my other thing that's really the burning question for me about the Blazers team is a lot of reports that they would trade Anthony Simons. And at first, I throw up a little in my mouth at that idea. He made 13 threes in a row, Jarod, which has almost never happened in history.
We saw it. He's incredible.
He's one of the best shooters. He's a dunk champion. He's signed to a team-friendly deal. He's 24. What? Who? You don't.
No one does that.
Why does
Nobody
anybody
ever
trade
does
that guy? Right?
No.
Okay. So then, but I have shifted ever so slightly in my thinking. One is maybe you get an incredible offer, in which case it's fine. Two is, remember I was talking about that Chauncey and Dame taking turns thing?
Yeah.
Like, it's possible that Anthony's been taught the wrong lessons here,
yes.
right? He is on the list with Shaedon Sharpe of players who literally had almost all of their good games. Their games as like potential future all-stars happened when Dame was out injured. And that sends you a little message that like, I could really be something, except I have all these teammates. What a bummer, right?
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, okay, if that's the nature of Anthony Simons, we don't know, but if the post-Dame and trying to make a culture post-Dame that isn't like that, then I could see you might want to trade him for that reason. Okay, my third reason, this is the new thing that really makes me think they actually probably should trade Anthony Simons, is perhaps you want the weight of the world on the shoulders of Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe. Like young Kevin Durant in Seattle, maybe you just want to be like, guys, like the cavalry's not coming. You guys have to solve everything as like a motivational tool to like, you know, you're betting the farm on them anyway. So let's not confuse the issue. Just be like, we're gonna ride or die with you guys. Could be well, Scoot wants it.
Oh, you know, we know Scoot wants it. We know that. No, I think if you do decide to trade Anthony Simons, people will be attracted to that. They'll be like, you know what, we can kind of get him. Maybe we get him in the right system, get him in our program, and what we do here, we can because if you can win the dunk contest and get 13 threes in a row, that tells us a lot, right? In terms of your basketball offensive abilities. Actually, it tells a lot about your defensive abilities too. If you gave a shit and tried on that end, you could be decent, right?
Fair
right?
point.
So, I mean, he's someone who maybe it's a change of scenery, right? You said he learned bad lessons at Portland. Your turn, my turn. I had my best games when Dame wasn't here. You get him somewhere else, and you can get a haul back and start your rebuild, and you become what David said in the beginning about, are you that rebounding 15th rated defense team? And now we have an identity of who we are, and we can build.
He's the kind of athlete that, like, I think we sometimes make this mistake where, like, the poster that you're talking about might be like when Michael Jordan jumped, you could see all the effort, right? You know, the rippling muscles and the like clenched face, whatever. You know, people winning like 100-meter sprints are like just maxing out, right? But what we underrate are the people who move just as well but look like smooth as silk the whole time.
You say Bolt smiling when he's in the 100-meter dash.
Yeah. Like Anthony moves as well as anybody. He looks like he's never working hard, but like he can move. Like he can really move. He's one of the best jumpers measured. Like, you know, he's just like a sick athlete. And so as a Blazers fan, I would be delighted if he explores the full limits of his abilities in a Blazers uniform. But like, I kind of bet that, like, you know, I don't know who the magical coach would be, but like, there's a place where he could really be something special. Like, somebody put some nice royal jelly over there that can blossom into something really nice somewhere. You know what I think about him a little bit like Seattle Ray Allen, right? And like, and then you put him in Boston, suddenly it's like, it turns out he can play defense okay. You know, like it's something like that. I think you could, you know, this is not me trying to sell the world on every time. I just think that like he has a 24-year-old tool set that's like rare. Well, it's what David says all the time, is that 99% of the players that get drafted, it's about what situation they get taken to, whether they reach their potential or not. Yeah, LeBron's gonna be LeBron wherever he goes, but everybody else, they got to go to the right spot, and you know, most of them don't, fixed by nature of how the league works. All right, we're gonna round out this division with the Utah Jazz. My question is, what are you going to do with Lauri Markkanen? Because, still, first of all, Markkanen is one of my favorite players. Loved the year he had last year. Most improved player. He was an all-star. Just missed making all-NBA. He has maybe the best contract in the NBA. 12.1 estimated wins. He's being paid $17 million this year. Based on our bonus wins math, Lauri Markkanen is a $45 million a year player. So he's got 17 left this year, and next year
$18 million, but that's only partially guaranteed for next year. And he's 27 years old. EPM, he's in the 96 percentile. He's ahead of people like Paul George, Devin Booker, John Morant, Trae Young, DeMar DeRozan, De'Aaron Fox, and Jaylen Brown. Yeah, pretty good players. Lauri's excellent. And first of all, 7-footer, 58% effective field goal, 64 true shooting. I mean, he is outstanding. But what are the Jazz doing? Like, to me, that's a guy you're like, we get the right pieces in here, we can compete and do some serious winning. Does Danny want to do serious winning? I don't know.
Yeah, well, talk about change of scene though, right? To what you were just talking about, right? Like this is like as a Bull, everyone's like, Laurie Markin, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And now he's like, oh, actually, he's like Jesus. Like, we
You're
were
like,
wrong.
He's really good.
I mean, I literally remember people saying the Bulls should just get rid of him for nothing.
Then he went to Cleveland, right? And he's okay in Cleveland. And then it was like, but he is shining. And what happened to him was not necessarily this thing, but we talked about this, David and I. He went to Eurobasket for Finland, and he was awesome for Finland in Eurobasket 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So not this past summer, but the summer before.
Did you watch Eurobasket?
I sure did.
Really?
And he was
I didn't.
killing. And he got to Utah on the trade, and it's like, oh, this guy's really good. It's like, yeah, we've been telling you he's really good.
So this is they're like the exact almost exactly like the Thunder, right? So like they're super good rebuilding team. The tricky part is this Thunder has a 26-year-old.
Yes.
Whose trade value because of the contract is just incandescently high right now, right? So like when this would be the top of the market, right? And that's where if you look around, okay, so when they're going to contend, who's going to be riding shotgun with Lauri Markkanen? And like that's where I think, and so Walker Kessler was like a
excellent,
unbelievably good pick. It changed their whole schedule, right? So they could kind of sort of win now, right? And there's an argument that you could trade a lot of the assets they have for somebody like Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Julius Randle, Anthony Simons, Pascal Siakam, and they could try to win now.
Yep.
But they also have collected, like Taylor Hendricks is a super exciting prospect.
Yep.
Keontae George, Will Walker, we just mentioned. Taylor Horton Tucker, I think is still like 22.
22, yeah, he's 22. He is 22 years old. Crazy.
Seems like he's been around for a long time. But yeah, like, so they do have this core that could really make sense in 4 or 5 years. In which case,
Lauri's 30, so it doesn't work.
And he's going to be making so much money by then, right? And so, yeah. Anyway, I think that there's a real argument to trade him.
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting thing too about Lauri, and I always think about this stuff as it matters. He's got a young family. The Utah lifestyle is probably great for the young family, right? He goes to like
hiking. We're talking about the hiking.
Yeah, hiking. He goes to like, I don't know. Fucking shouldn't think of terrible city.
Oh, pressure's on you now.
I know.
You set it up that way.
I know. Because I want to offend someone. Forget it. I'm not gonna say the city. He goes to somewhere where it's just not as ideal for his family, and then does he start playing worse? And then you sign him and extend him before he gets there, and now you're like, shit, we're not good. Yeah. He's the kind of guy that if my family life is in balance, my play life's going to be in balance. But if one's out, might cause issues on the other end. I don't know. That's really anybody, right? Like if your family life's out of whack, it might cause problems at work. But
actually, and there's a little bit of trouble in trading him, and just that he makes so little. I guess this is maybe why they extended Jordan Clarkson. Like, right? Like because you're gonna want back like a max player, right?
Well, maybe Lauri is like, I love it here so much, and that they'll have $41 million in cap room this summer. He doesn't take a max; maybe he takes a little less.
Yeah, they could extend him.
He could.
Yeah, I guess. What's your gut? You think they're gonna trade him or no?
I mean, I just don't think Lauri Markkanens don't grow on trees, man. Like I don't think so. Like Danny's smart. Like he's, look, I'm not going to be out here singing fucking Danny Ainge praises, but like he's, unless he gets a killer offer in return, I think they're going to extend him.
So they're just going to like hope that your Taylor Hendricks and Keontae George come along fast enough.
Yep, they can move it ahead fast.
I think you're probably right. Also, the other thing about Lauri being so tall, those players age better, right? So like presumably even with a huge deal, you could trade him later.
Because a tall dude who can still shoot 38% from three is going to be still valuable.
Yeah. What about Colin Sexton? I guess he's like technically their starting point guard.
Look, he's only 24. I don't like to give up on players young, but he just seems to me, he's got a one-track mind.
He does.
And it's Colin Sexton time at all times. That's just. And that look, they already had one. They already had Jordan Clarkson. They really don't need another one. You know what I mean?
Well, I am a little worried about this, right? So, maybe a little refresher on the Keontae George summer league experience, but he's getting legit rookie of the year talk, right? Like he had his numbers were ridiculous, right? He's a shooting guard who can really score. And Taylor Horton-Tucker, if you're going to use him, he needs the ball, right? How you could possibly have, Agbaji, whatever, like this whole roster, the young roster that you want to have getting this development, they can't develop with Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton.
No. Listen, Clarkson goes off the bench, and we know you're scoring. That's what you're going to do. Colin Sexton, we can't have both of you because no one's going to get the ball. No, you keep Clarkson. Sexton's got to go.
Wait, I'm going to be stupid here for probably not the first time in this podcast. Shake Milton, I believe, is now. Where is he? No, he's in Minnesota now.
I was going to say,
that's where he is. Okay. He's in Minnesota now. Okay.
Oh my
there you go.
God.
Okay. But don't you? Okay. Yeah. I don't.
Yes. I now that I remember now the Keontae George stuff, I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, they have 4 candidates to be their off the bench scorer. Too many.
Way too many. Way too many.
Yeah.
I mean, Colin Sexton's isn't his Instagram handle something Young Bull? It's all right, dude. I just nah. I don't need more bulls in the Matador ring. No. I need someone who can do the other stuff.
He's talented.
Very talented. I'm
very much enjoying your bailing on Colin Sexton.
I'm just like, come on, bro. Just well, listen. We thought that was going to work in Cleveland, right? Him and Darius Garland. No.
Yeah.
And by the way, Colin Sexton is now in year 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be year 6 coming up. Henry, he has never been above the 65th percentile at estimated plus minus. That was his 3rd year. He was plus 0.01. Oh, I'm sorry, plus 0.1. Excuse me, not point. That'd be terrible. Plus 0.1. Still not great. Basically a net neutral player. He's been net negative his entire career.
He's probably like we were saying about Anthony Simon.
Yes.
Probably in the right setting. Someone's going to get. I mean, Jordan Clarkson was this guy once.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. You just can't have so many of them.
No, because this is when the whole one ball thing is where it matters. In these scenarios, usually that's overrated. No, one ball, it's fine. But in this scenario, oh no, we only have one ball here. That's a problem in Utah.
Somebody's got him on their board though, right? I guarantty you, Pat Riley or someone is like, oh, I gotta get this Colin Sexton going here, right?
You get him to Heat and Heat culture and Spo. All of a sudden, he's Well, listen, the Heat, they got yes, they have a Kyle Lowry problem. So maybe
I will. Okay. We've talked about rebuilding teams. I'm talking about the Northwest Division, right?
Yep.
I tried this on David yesterday, and he's just like, whatever, crazy guy. But I genuinely believe that this year of Kyle Lowry, assuming Kyle Lowry wants to do this,
is
right?
what
Kyle Lowry might just want to be not paying state tax in Miami and going deep in the playoffs. That's probably what he wants. But this expiring year, I feel like there could be no better voice in the ear of whoever your young star is, right? This is it's totally overblown, the idea that veterans help young players, whatever. But man, this particular guy who had to use his brain to if you talk to Scoot every day, come on.
Nobody understands how to win possessions better than Kyle Lowry. Now there are people who can do it just as well, better, or whatever, but understanding with the limited, he's fucking, as Henry said, he's the size of a talk show host, and he's a little fat. That guy knows how to win possessions.
He knows how to outthink you, and if you could put that brain in a very special, an all-star type body,
Oh, and by the way, Kyle Lowry's been an all-star, but you put him into I know what you mean, one of those physical specimens.
Yeah.
Well, then you have an all-NBA MVP caliber person.
This is probably me. He's one of my favorite players. I'm probably projecting weird stuff here, but to me, I'm I just have a hunch that there's that expiring deal which is an argument to get just for cap reasons, right? But that expansion might come with a little.
You might get a little
Udonis Haslam boost.
You might get a little bonus. So you're thinking if
Yeah.
Dame somehow manages to get to Miami and Lowry has to come back because the money has to work, Chauncey would be nice to have Kyle on the bench because he'd be like, thank God, another adult who understands how to win possessions. Talking to these dudes, and he's like, hey man, look, when Chauncey's saying this, what he's really trying to tell you is, yeah, you can go do that scoring thing, but watch. And yeah, guys, maybe like, I'm with that.
Yeah, I think there's an argument. Tyler Hero as the center of a Dame trade is really duplicative, right? Like,
yeah, and also like, not enough, but yeah,
yeah, but like he's expensive, and he needs the ball a lot, and he's not a great defender.
Yep.
And like when you have a rookie point guard and Shaedon Sharpe and Anthony Simons, like it's kind of the last thing you need.
That's what they all do.
He's still good. He's the best player we were discussing here. Like, but it's hard to see how that works, right? If you play in the trade machine, like the other option would be Kyle Lowry and every conceivable young Orlando Robinson on the list, by the way, every conceivable young asset that he can put together. Like I
could see an argument
that's better.
Yeah,
and you get cap room in the future, which is more useful than your fourth chucker.
Henry, you're thinking like a smart person. That's not how most teams operate.
Well, that's very kind of you. I'm sure. Anyway, you could probably get some for Tyler Hero, which is better than expiring Kyle Lowry. But there's an argument for the Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, there is. I think ultimately, if Dame does end up in Miami, I think it'll probably have to involve a third team to get Portland more of what they want. Because I just don't think Miami has enough of it just on its own. Because to your point, yes, well, I don't think they'd be like, yeah, sure, we'll just take Kyle and all the young guys. And they're going to be like, what? Like,
Yeah, but the problem is like, where does the value come from? Like the Heat don't have if the Heat want to buy something that costs $100 and they have $45. And it's like the third team is gonna be like, yeah, I'll take. Don't worry, I'll just give you $55. Like
sure, here you go. Shit. Take my. Well, it's
a little hard to picture.
They have to convince some dumb third team, which there's at least one of them somewhere in the league. So.
Yeah, no, they still have the Rockets. Just needless cheap shot.
Rocket fans so bad right now. Like, who are Houston Rockets fans right now? I'm wondering, where are they?
Yeah.
The fortunes of, they were riding so high, like not too long ago. You had James Harden, and you're the best player in the league, and you were going to Western Conference Finals against the Warriors. No Chris Paul hamstring injury, and you probably win the NBA championship that year. And now, we're starting over.
Yeah, they do. They've collected a lot of talent, though. We'll see how it goes.
They do,
yeah.
All right, guys. We will see you all next week where we finish out the rest of the West. And we'll start hearing from teams. I can't wait. Like, we're going to – I just got an email, like, press conference, like, head coach GM. I'm like, oh, boy, what are these guys going to say? We're so excited about this year. We got so much talent. We're going to be so good. And I just hear Henry in my voice being like, probably what you were last year, give or take.
It's a little like there's like this moment where like let me get this right. Who an owner made fart noises with a fart machine while the coach was talking? Who was this?
It just happened. Oh my god! I gotta Google it right now. Oh my god! It just happened.
Embarrassing. But I feel like they could similarly play you making that little recitation you just did, like while the media day head coach press conferences are going on. It was
Mark Cuban. Was it Cuban?
He made fart noises? No, I thought it was. This is an important thing we have to get to the bottom of.
Nah, screw it up. But yeah, that's the point. So you'll hear me saying whenever an owner and a GM say, or a GM and a coach say, this is what we're gonna do this year.
Dan Gilbert put a remote control fart machine under Coach Mike Brown's seat.
Yes,
amazing.
That's what it was.
So mature. Oh my god.
These are your billionaires, folks.
Adam Silver works for him. Go figure.
Go figure. Oh man. Yay. All right, kids. We will see you next week. Have a great weekend.